All right, today we're going to dive into a pretty provocative book. It's called Unscripted by MJ DeMarco. And really, it's a blueprint for escaping that conventional life path that society kind of lays out for all of us. A path that, let's be honest, can feel more like a cage than a real road to freedom. I mean, have you ever felt that, like you're just stuck on a treadmill, basically living for the weekend? It's that nagging feeling, the Monday morning dread, the sense that there has to be something more than just the 9 to 5 grind, and then poof, the weekend's over. If any of that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. Well, DeMarco actually gives this feeling a name. He calls it the script. Think of it like an invisible operating system for life that we're all kind of taught to follow without even realizing it. You know the one: go to school, get the job, buy the house, rack up debt, and then maybe retire at 65. It promises security, right? But, as we're about to find out, that security comes at a ridiculously high cost. So, let's get into that. What is the real cost of compliance? What are we actually unknowingly trading away for this so-called security? Okay, so DeMarco argues that following the script, it molds us into something he calls a model citizen. And yeah, that's a pretty harsh acronym because it stands for mediocre, obedient, dependent, entertained, and the lifeless. Ouch. It's basically a diagnosis that says we're trading our vitality, our spark, our independent thought, all for a predictable but ultimately totally unfulfilling life. And this leads to one of the book's most powerful and, let's be real, controversial ideas. He calls it temporal prostitution. It's a blunt way of putting it, but it's the raw, unfiltered truth. When you work a job, you're not just earning money. You are literally selling the finite, precious hours of your one and only life. And here's the real kicker. Every dollar you spend is a piece of your future life that you've just forfeited. Think about it. That new car, that fancy gadget, it doesn't just cost money. It costs time. Every single purchase transforms your future free time into what he calls indentured time. That's time you now have to spend working just to pay for something you already bought. So when you boil it all down, we're really faced with a clear choice between two paths. You've got the scripted path, that's all about consumer debt and being dependent on a job, deferring your life until some far-off retirement. And then you've got the unscripted path. That's about creating value, gaining autonomy, and having freedom of time, like right now. Okay, so if following the script is the problem, what's the solution? What's the alternative? Let's talk about what a life of real liberty, an unscripted life, actually looks like. Well, an unscripted life is really defined by 5 core freedoms. You've got freedom from work, freedom from scarcity, freedom from influence, from dependence, and freedom from the ordinary. And notice, it's not just about money. It's about freeing yourself from having to trade your time for it, from being a slave to trends, from needing a boss, and from just a boring routine life. And this quote from DeMarco just perfectly captures it. Every day is payday. Every day is Saturday. I mean, think about that. When your income isn't tied to the hours you put in, when it comes from systems you've built, your whole concept of time just changes. The difference between a Tuesday and a Saturday, it just kind of dissolves. So, the big question is, how do you even start a journey like this? Well, DeMarco argues that for most of us, it isn't some gradual, gentle shift. No, it's usually triggered by a breaking point, what he very bluntly calls a fuck this event. It's that moment when the pain of staying where you are finally becomes greater than the fear of the unknown. So, okay, let's say you've hit that breaking point. What's next? This isn't just some abstract mindset stuff. DeMarco actually lays out a tangible entrepreneurial escape plan, a way to literally build your way out. And the entire escape plan, really, is built on this one core principle. Great value precedes great wealth. See, the goal isn't to get rich quick. The goal is to solve a real problem for people, to meet a genuine need. Wealth? Well, that's just the natural byproduct of creating a ton of value for others. So how do you find a business that can actually set you free instead of just becoming a new job? DeMarco gives us this awesome filter called the Sense Framework. It has to check 5 boxes. Control, you own it. Entry, you don't need millions to start. Need, it solves a real problem. Time, it can be separated from your time. And scale, it can potentially serve millions. If your idea doesn't check these boxes, you might be accidentally creating another prison for yourself. And here's something that's so important to remember. Everything significant started insignificantly.
You don't need to have this world-changing, revolutionary idea on day one. You just need to start. It's all about those small, consistent actions, day in and day out. The most crucial thing is just to begin. Which brings us to the final and maybe the most important part of all this: rewriting your own story. How do you actually start? How do you take that very first step off the treadmill?
Well, DeMarco gives us a couple of super practical exercises you can start with right now. First, audit your script. Make a list of your life expectations and then ask yourself, honestly, whose goals are these? Are they mine or did someone else put them there? And second, calculate the time cost of things. The next time you want to make a big purchase, figure out how many hours of your actual life it's going to cost you. That little shift in perspective, it can change everything. And this really is the book's ultimate call to action. It's a declaration of ownership over your own life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. Don't give the script the deed to your life. Claw it back, rip it up, and rewrite your own unscripted story. It's about realizing that you hold the pen. It's your story to write. So we'll leave you with this to think about. If today is the day, if this is the moment you decide to rip up that old script and start living a life that's truly yours, what's the very first rule in your new story?